They ridiculed my dreams, sneering, "You'll never achieve anything." I quietly succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. When they asked for my help, I coldly replied, "Why would I waste my time on a nobody?" Their shock was only matched by their humiliation. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi where everyone knew each other's business. From a young age, I dreamed of becoming an architect, designing buildings that would stand tall in big cities. But in a place where the tallest structures were grain silos, my aspirations were often met with laughter and doubt. In high school, my classmates mocked me relentlessly. "Hey, Michael," they'd say, "design any chicken coops lately?" Even some teachers joined in. "Architecture? That's ambitious, Mr. Thompson," my math teacher remarked. "Maybe consider something more practical." Despite the negativity, I spent my nights studying architectural designs and sketching in worn-out notebooks. I applied to numerous colleges, facing rejection after rejection. But I didn't give up. Finally, the University of Texas at Austin School of Architecture accepted me. The day I left town, there were no goodbyes, only smirks. "See you when you come crawling back," a classmate jeered. Austin was a revelation. Surrounded by supportive peers and mentors, I thrived. I immersed myself in my studies, often spending sleepless nights perfecting models and designs. Summers were spent interning at prestigious firms where I gained invaluable experience and built a network of contacts. Upon graduation, I was offered a position at a renowned architectural firm in New York City. The transition from a small town to the bustling metropolis was overwhelming, but I was ready. I worked tirelessly, contributing to projects that would soon become iconic structures in the city's skyline. Years passed and my reputation grew. I started my own firm and our designs began to garner international acclaim. Magazines featured our work and awards adorned our office walls. The boy from Mississippi had become a name in the world of architecture. One day, out of the blue, I received a message on LinkedIn. It was from Jake, one of my high school tormentors. "Hey, Michael. Long time no see. I saw your interview in Architectural Digest. Amazing work. Listen, I'm in a bit of a bind. My company is looking to build a new headquarters and we need a top-notch architect. I immediately thought of you. Can we discuss the possibility of hiring your firm?" I stared at the message, memories of the ridicule and pain resurfacing. Taking a deep breath, I crafted my response. "Hello, Jake. It's indeed been a long time. I appreciate your interest in our firm. However, considering our current commitments and the nature of our projects, I don't believe we'd be the right fit for your company's needs. Best of luck with your search." I hit send, a sense of closure washing over me. It wasn't about revenge. It was about recognizing my worth and not allowing those who once belittled me to benefit from my success. A week later, while attending a conference in Chicago, I was approached by Lisa, another former classmate. She looked nervous, clutching a portfolio. "Michael, I don't know if you remember me," she began. "I remember," I replied, my tone neutral. "I've been following your career and it's truly inspiring. I've recently started my own interior design business and I'm struggling to get clients. I was wondering if you might consider collaborating on a project or two." I studied her, recalling the times she joined in the mockery. But I also remembered moments when she seemed hesitant, perhaps even regretful. "Lisa," I started, "I believe in second chances. Let's discuss potential collaborations and see if our visions align." Her face lit up with gratitude. Over the next few months, we worked together on several projects, and to my surprise, she proved to be talented and dedicated. Our professional relationship flourished and we developed a mutual respect. Returning to my hometown for a family event, I couldn't help but notice the changes. The once vibrant town seemed to have stagnated. Many of my former classmates were still there, working the same jobs, living the same lives. At the local diner, I ran into Mr. Thompson. He looked older, wearier. "Michael," he greeted, a hint of embarrassment in his voice. "I saw your work in that magazine. You've done well for yourself." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," I replied, allowing a small smile. "I had some good teachers along the way." He nodded, understanding the weight of my words. As I walked through the town, memories flooded back. The ridicule, the doubt, but also the moments of kindness, the sparks of hope. I realized that while the town had tried to confine me, it had also shaped my resilience. Before leaving, I visited the local high school and spoke to the students about chasing dreams, no matter the obstacles. I shared my journey, hoping to inspire even one student to look beyond the town's borders. Driving away, I felt a sense of peace. The past no longer held power over me. I had succeeded, not out of spite, but out of a genuine desire to fulfill my dreams. And in doing so, I had found a deeper understanding of forgiveness, growth, and the true meaning of success. I thought that was the end of it. I thought the past was done with me. But life has a way of dragging you back just when you start to feel settled. About a year after that trip home, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was shaky. "Michael, the town wants to tear down the old library." I sat back in my chair, heart suddenly heavy. That old brick library on the corner of Main and Pine wasn't just a building. It was my first escape. I spent hours in there, hidden in the back corner, reading architecture books no one else ever touched. It saved me in a way. "Why?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "It's falling apart," she said. "The roof leaks, mold in the walls. They say it's cheaper to tear it down and build a small office for the mayor's staff." I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. It wasn't just a building. It was history. My history. And knowing this town, they'd let some cousin of the mayor slap up a soulless box of a building, all beige siding and no heart. Later that week, I reached out to the town council through email. I offered to restore the library at my firm's cost. I'd even fund part of the materials myself. I just wanted to save it. Their response came 3 days later. "Thanks for your offer, Michael. However, we've decided to move forward with our existing contractor. We appreciate your interest." That was it. No thank you. No discussion. Just a brush off. Then I saw the name of the contractor on the town's website. Jake. Jake. The same guy who laughed at me in high school. The same one who tried to hire me months ago and got turned down. Now he was running a cheap construction business. And suddenly, the town was more than happy to hand him a public project. A historic site. My site. I shouldn't have cared. I really shouldn't. I was running million-dollar projects in LA, New York, and Dubai. But something about it burned deep. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about what was right. That library meant something. I took a flight down that weekend. I walked into the town council office unannounced. Most of them looked shocked to see me. "I'm here to talk about the library," I said. Councilman Brewer, who used to run the gas station when I was a kid, gave me a thin smile. "Michael, we've already made our decision. With all due respect, I don't think you understand what that building is worth. Not in dollars. In legacy. I offered to save it for free. Why choose Jake's company?" The room was silent for a second too long. Then Brewer spoke again. "He's local. He knows the town. People trust him." I stared at them, realizing this was never about skill or experience. It was about keeping outsiders like me now at arm's length. They were still the same small-town gatekeepers. And I'd flown too far for too long. So I made a different move. I went to the press. Local papers. State papers. I told the story of the library. I showed pictures of its historical features, its original woodwork, the stained glass window in the reading room that dated back to 1903. I explained the town's plan to demolish it and replace it with a prefab concrete office. I also mentioned truthfully that the contractor they hired had no prior experience with historical restorations. The story took off more than I expected. An architectural magazine picked it up. A preservation nonprofit reached out. Donations started pouring in from strangers who cared about saving old libraries. The pressure built fast. Within 2 weeks, the council called an emergency meeting. This time, they asked me to attend. Brewer wasn't smiling anymore. "We're being accused of negligence. People are calling from out of state. We're being made into a joke," he said, voice hard. I said nothing. Just waited. After some back and forth, they caved. The contract with Jake was canceled. I was given full control over the restoration with the caveat that the town wouldn't contribute a cent. "Done," I said. But Jake didn't take it well. A week later, he showed up at my mom's house. Not violent. Just smug. "You think you're some big hero now," he said, leaning against his rusted truck. "You still act like you're better than all of us." "I don't act like anything," I said calmly. "I just do the work." He shook his head. "This is my town. They only gave it to you 'cause you made them look bad." He wasn't wrong. But I didn't care. "You could have been part of it, Jake," I said. "You reached out to me once. You had a shot. But you wanted control. And now you lost it." He left with a few more choice words I won't repeat here. Now I'm back in town for a while. I rented a small place near the lake. My firm is running the project from here. We've started restoring the library, one brick at a time. But I know it's not over. This town never forgets. And neither do I. 3 weeks into the library restoration, things started getting weird. At first, it was small stuff. Construction permits delayed without explanation. Equipment deliveries showing up with missing parts. Our local subcontractors suddenly pulling out with vague excuses like family emergencies or unexpected conflicts. I've dealt with red tape before, especially in cities. But this was deliberate. Someone was pulling strings. I didn't have to guess long. One night, while reviewing blueprints in the temporary site trailer, one of my site managers walked in looking rattled. "You're gonna want to see this," he said, handing me his phone. It was a blurry photo, Looked like it had been taken through a windshield. It showed Jake standing outside the town zoning office. He wasn't alone. Next to him was Councilman Brewer. And next to Brewer was someone I hadn't thought about in over a decade, Marla Jensen. Marla had been student body president when we were in school. Smart, charismatic, and ruthless. She left town to study law, but I heard she came back a few years ago. Word was she was now working in town as a consultant. I started connecting the dots fast. Jake had lost the contract. I'd embarrassed the town council. Now someone was sabotaging us from the inside, and I had a feeling Marla was in on it. She was sharp enough to cover the tracks, Jake was petty enough to carry it out, and Brewer? He was just greedy enough to back them both. I wasn't sure how far they'd go until the break-in. It happened on a Saturday night. We kept most of the tools locked in a secure storage unit on site and had just installed temporary security cams. But whoever broke in knew exactly where to go and what to take. Not everything was stolen. Just the high-ticket specialty tools we needed to reinforce the old roof beams. Tools you couldn't get at the local hardware store. Tools that would take weeks to replace. The next day, I filed a report with the police, but I could tell the officer wasn't interested. "These things happen," he muttered, barely writing anything down. Later that afternoon, Jake posted a photo on his business page. He was standing in front of a warehouse in Jackson holding almost the exact same make and model of the stolen beam cutters. The caption? "Upgrade day. Always improving." He was rubbing it in. I tried to stay calm. But I knew this couldn't be a coincidence. I had two choices, back down or go deeper. So I got a lawyer. A good one. Out of state. I started digging into town records. My firm hired a private investigator to look into public contracts issued over the last 5 years. The deeper we went, the messier it got. Turns out Jake's company had won over a dozen contracts in the last 3 years. Parks, schools, utility buildings. All approved by the same small circle of people, Brewer, Marla, and a few others. Even worse? Most of the projects had change orders issued mid-construction, meaning the town kept paying more money for work that never got inspected. I now had something bigger than a petty grudge. This was fraud. With my lawyer's help, we compiled everything. Emails, contracts, testimonies from contractors who'd quietly been pushed out of town for not playing ball. Even drone footage comparing Jake's completed jobs to the actual blueprints. And then we did what they never expected. We sent everything to the state attorney general's office. For a while, it went quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your stomach turn. Meanwhile, we kept pushing on the library restoration. I paid out of pocket for replacement tools. We brought in out-of-town contractors under NDA. We worked night shifts. I wasn't going to let them win. But then, like something out of a movie, the town got hit with a full audit. Investigators showed up. Brewer resigned suddenly due to health issues. Marla lawyered up. Jake deleted his business page overnight and tried to play innocent. But it was too late. The state froze all pending projects linked to Jake's company. They opened up formal inquiries into every building contract approved by the council in the last 5 years. People started talking. And not just quietly in diners. There were articles, news crews. Former workers from Jake's company began sharing their stories. Materials never delivered. Corners cut. Unsafe wiring buried in school walls. The town that had tried to push me out now had no choice but to face its rot. Meanwhile, the library restoration finally hit its stride. With no more interference, the crew moved fast. We salvaged the original crown moldings. The old stained glass window was cleaned and restored to its former glory. We reinforced the foundation. The building was coming back to life. But I wasn't done yet. Because while the investigation into Jake and Marla kept unfolding, something else landed in my lap that I didn't expect. A letter. From a lawyer representing someone I hadn't thought about in a long time. My dad. The letter said my dad was dying. Liver failure. Hospice care. No chance of recovery. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. He left when I was 10. Just walked out one night, left a note on the kitchen table saying, "I'm not made for this kind of life." I remembered staring at the scribbled handwriting, trying to understand what that even meant. My mom never talked about him much after that. She worked 2 jobs, barely had time to breathe, let alone explain why the man who gave me his last name had vanished. Now he wanted to see me. At first, I didn't respond. I was still knee-deep in construction and lawsuits. But curiosity got the better of me. I booked a flight to Biloxi, where he was staying in a rundown nursing facility. He looked nothing like I remembered. Smaller, weaker. His skin was grayish. He had tubes in his nose and 4 in his arm. "Michael," he croaked when I walked in. I sat down, not saying anything. Let him speak first. "I've seen your name in the papers. You did good." I stared at him. "You're proud now." He coughed, winced. "I was never good at staying. Thought I'd only drag you down." "That's a lie," I said flatly. "You left because it was easier." He didn't argue. Then he said something that made my stomach turn. "I worked with Jake's dad. Back in the day. We used to do side jobs, cheap stuff. Got in trouble once for overcharging on a county project. Jake was just a kid then. And just like that, things clicked. Jake had grown up watching his dad play the system. Learned it all. Probably thought he was entitled to the same shortcuts. Thought I'd do the same when he reached out to me. But I didn't bite, and he never forgave me for it. I left without shaking my dad's hand. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just walked out, closed that door behind me for good. Back in town, the state finally pressed charges. Jake was arrested for fraud, embezzlement, and falsifying reports. Marla was charged with conspiracy and obstruction. Brewer's resignation didn't save him. He was fined heavily and barred from holding office again. People said it was the biggest scandal the town had seen in 50 years. Jake's mugshot ended up on the front page of the state paper. That photo was printed in every town newsletter, pinned to every gas station corkboard, posted in every local Facebook group. Poetic. But here's the twist. The town still resented me. Not everyone, but enough. They said I'd brought shame. That I made them look stupid. That I dug too deep. One guy even called me a traitor at the post office. It stung more than I expected. After all, I didn't do any of it for glory. I did it to protect something real. That library had given me a chance to believe in something outside the pain. I wanted others to have that too. But it didn't matter. Because I learned something important. Revenge doesn't heal you. It just clears the debris. What you do after that, that's what defines you. I held the grand reopening of the restored library on a sunny fall afternoon. We invited everyone. Most came out of curiosity. Some came to sneer. I didn't care. When I stepped up to the podium, I looked around at the faces. Many still unsure. A few nodding in quiet respect. A small group of kids sat in the front row, fidgeting. I told them the truth. That this building wasn't about me. It was about second chances. It was about having a space to imagine a different future, even when the world around you says you can't. Then I said something that surprised even me. I made mistakes too. I held on to hate longer than I should have. I thought proving people wrong would fix everything. But it didn't. Not really. What fixed me was this. Building something that lasts. I left the podium to silence. Then someone clapped. Then a few more. Eventually a full room. Later, after the ceremony, Lisa, my former classmate turned collaborator, walked up to me. "You did good, Michael. They'll get it eventually. Or they won't. But you did the right thing." We stood there for a while, watching kids race through the aisles of books and parents explore the reading corners. The town might never fully forgive me, and I might never fully forgive them. But the library stood tall again, stronger than ever, and that was enough.